Here with your daily football show. These shows are going to run about a half hour at this time of year or less, and then we're going to, unless there's something really going on, then we're going to step it up once the season starts. But we're trying to go for what we're really shooting for here is 365-day a year football coverage. So football really is a 365-day a year sport now. There's everything that goes on, in the off season. There's all the stuff after the season leading up to the draft and free agency. There's the trading that goes on after the season and all the way into this time of year, which is actually the slowest time of the year. It's so weird because I remember when I first started my very first website, it was only about college football. And I started on July 1st. So it was really hard, the first month or so coming up with stuff to write about. And then once the season started, it was, it just flowed. It was super duper easy. But it's like, I remember it being a struggle. I did all of the type of stuff that we're doing now. Top 10, this, just random thoughts, things of that nature. So I just thought today, since we have it on the betting tools, we'll just look at some of the streaks that are going on coming into the season. We're not going to look at all of them. Everyone can just look at the betting tools themselves. This will keep some continuity. Tomorrow's show will be, unless there's NFL breaking news, we'll include it in the show. But tomorrow's show will be our Spence Crawford preview. And then Friday will probably be an abbreviated show, more than likely. Just something like on the fly, possibly live at the weigh-in with us both just on an iPhone, something of that nature, or in Vegas out on the strip if we don't make it to the weigh-in and I get stuck at a craps table along the way or something. Happens.
Happens.
It's Vegas. But I think Tony Brown wants to go, so probably will end up pushing me there. Have to see. But yeah, there's like some signings and not signings. What do you think of Saquon taking this deal? There's a lot of times guys, they just love to play the game and they just want to play and they love their teammates and they see the possibilities. And the Giants were a team that did take a step forward last year. And Barkley, maybe he just says, you know what, me sitting out isn't going to help things. Whether I get $20 million or $22 million on a 5-year deal or, it's like, I'm going to be okay. A lot of it has to do with the agent, pushing them.
Yeah, I thought it was. I was surprised that he signed it. I thought he was definitely one of the premier backs that could demand a long-term contract. Now, I think it's official. The running back position is dying. It just is what it is.
I don't think that. I don't think it is. I think it's cyclical, and we're going to disagree on this. And as these running backs are racking up touchdowns, catching passes out of the backfield, all those different things all season long, cashing for us, you're going to change your opinion, but that's okay. Or I'm going to say, you know what, you're right. These guys are just worthless. They're just another guy in a spot. But I think you underestimate it.
I don't. It's the Melvin Gordon to Austin Eckler is what it was. That's the argument. Melvin Gordon, the Chargers were paying him handsomely. They told him, we're not going to pay you. Get out of here. And Austin Eckler came in there undrafted and went and did arguably better than Melvin Gordon did. So that's the argument for most teams. Now, I do think there are guys that could have put a fork in the sand. And I definitely thought Saquon was one of those as the premier backs. I hate to see him do this. I pray he don't get hurt this one year because if he does, then that could be it. So barring any of that, I think next year, if they don't tag him again, somebody will give him some money if he hits the open market.
Well, it happens in every sport. Undrafted players, especially in today's draft where there's only 7 rounds, there used to be 15. It happens in every sport. Really, in basketball, there's only one undrafted Hall of Famer in NBA history. So that's Ben Wallace. But my guess is there are going to be more. I think there will be more eventually. I think that's starting to go the other way. I think you see guys like Fred VanVleet come in and continue, contribute, and other guys like that. There's just so many college basketball players right now that can play. And so, I think it just is. So I think that's part of it. But I think with running back, I think that the position is underrated, and I think that it's not just running the football. It's just not just catching the football out of the backfield. There's also blocking for the quarterback that happens there too. And some guys are just absolutely terrible at it, and some guys are great at it. I think with Saquon Barkley is a different type of running back. And I agree, there are different types. I never thought Melvin Gordon was worth any kind of money. I always thought he was a straight up and down runner, very one dimensional in that effect. But a guy like Alvin Kamara, a guy, he's a bailout guy. He's there for the dump out pass. He can run the football in direct runs. He can chip block. He can do all of those things that you need him to do. He's worth it. Saquon Barkley is even better than that. And I hate Penn State running backs. I mean, I've always thought Penn State running backs are bust. But Saquon Barkley is kind of a guy that can do it all. He's like a Mahomes of the running back position because he might not be the best just pure running back. He might not be the best receiving running back. He might not be the best throwing running back. But he can do all of those things at really, really, really high level. He's not the fastest running back, but he's fast enough. And he gets.
And that's why I think he should have gotten a long term. And that's the argument. And that's the argument.
But here's his argument. I can tell you what it is. I don't even have to read about it. I can tell you what his argument is. Here I am in camp. I've taken a deal that I didn't want. I've taken one for the team. I've taken my whole career for the team. I'm not suffering all that bad because I'm filthy rich. But at the same time, I am looking at lifetime security. I mean, it's tough to talk about lifetime security at 20 million, and these type of numbers. But, he's saying, I've taken the first step. I didn't sit here and hold you hostage for it, and you should reward me for that. And, it's like, and if you don't pay me now, you're going to have to pay me later because your fans won't forgive you. If I have a big year and you guys don't sign me and I go sign with I'll sign with the freaking Eagles right across the street.
Yeah. We'll see how that plays out.
So it's always a tough thing. I think for Jacobs, it's a little bit different story. I don't think he has a lot of those things that Barkley has. The problem that Barkley has, he has an injury history, and this is why his agent would say, if you get hurt, then what are you going to do? That would be the other side of it. It is a tough call, but at the end of the day, I think this guy wants to play football, and I think in New York they pretty much respect the guys that show up.
Yep. We'll see. I don't think the Giants are going to be that good without him, with him, or so we'll see if they can put it together this year.
I mean, 11 million is actually to the light side, I think.
It is.
It
is, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It is. But it's really only behind Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb.
Yeah. That's why I say it's dying. It's crazy.
But
we know the talent is there. That's not the argument. We know the talent at the running back position is there. It's the payment of the running backs is not there.
Well, because it's a tough investment. So
yeah,
I think running back maybe should be an incentive laden thing. But the problem that the guys have, and this is the problem with sports, is that there's no trust between the players and management, and the guys feel that when they get close to their bonus, they sit them. So this is the argument, right? It's like, what is Justin Herbert doing in the game up by 40 in the final quarter of a game? Well, he did the same thing at Oregon. He was always in no matter what, running up the score, whatever they were doing. He was always in. But the other argument is that he has an incentive that at 39 touchdown passes, kicks into this, and at 51 touchdown passes, it kicks into this. So that's his time to get those. And a lot of those guys, the guys that really get those are the sack guys. The guys that have sack incentives in. So your guy Diggs, he probably has, incentive for an interceptions in his contract. So when the other team's going to throw on every single play, because they're down in the game, and that's what they're going to do. Even if they're up by 25, 30 points, you got to leave them in there to try and do it. If not, now you've damaged the relationship with the player. And this is what the players, they trust the management zero because the agents have taught them that.
Yep. So it's a slippery slope. I said it yesterday. Running back is, and it also hurts them the better they are. You know, they use that against you. Well, you had 250 carries last year for over 2,200 yards. You're not the same.
Back in the day, there was no free agency. Free agency only started in the 80s. So there
So what did
was no
they?
free.
So what did they do?
Either you sit out or you get traded.
So no, I'm saying so. Like when your contract was up, then what?
Then you become a free agent.
And then you could leave.
Then you could leave.
But there wasn't a free agency.
You couldn't become like there wasn't. It wasn't how it is today, where you're free to go from team to team. There wasn't. It just wasn't this wide open. I believe that you were locked in and committed to that team is the way that it worked, unless they cut you. Because I remember Keith Jackson from the Eagles, the Dolphins signing him. It was a big deal because he was a free agent, and he was really one of the first ones. And it really was not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. So like what in 1993, the players were granted unrestricted free agency in exchange for a salary cap after realizing so that's what they say. It's in 1993. So it really isn't that long ago. They had it was restricted free agency before that. And
okay.
So they'd write a first refusal.
Yeah. So basically, a team could basically still tell you what you're gonna do.
Yeah. So what happened was a very similar situation. The Dolphins had gone undefeated. The Dolphins had lost the Super Bowl to the Cowboys. They got stomped. The next year they came out. They went undefeated. The next year they lost 2 games during the regular season, but won the Super Bowl. And then the World Football League came in and they said, we're going to just loot you guys. We're going to offer your players because we're not subject to these same free agencies. We're going to offer. So they offered the guys, and back then this was a lot of money. They offered $1 million to the top players. Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, Paul Warfield. That was the cornerstone of that Dolphin offense from that 72 team. All those guys. And the players were vilified for leaving. And it's like, why would you not take it? You know, why would you not take it? The NFL. So that's when it took another 20 years after that for it to really change, even more. It's just crazy. But the players did not have the mobility in baseball. They did not have the mobility until about the same, maybe in football it happened in 93. In baseball it happened in the 70s is when free agency happened. Reggie Jackson was one of the first free agents. Along with the Oakland A's had a great team that had won 3 consecutive World Series, and all their players became free agents. Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Gene Tennis, Burt Campaneris, who went with the Rangers, ironically. And it was the same thing. It was like we're released. And that's how, in baseball, with no salary cap, that's how they got into these bidding wars. In the NFL, they had no salary cap before, but now that there's free agency, there's a cap. Yeah. So it's like that was the deal. It's like, we'll give you free agency, but there's got to be a cap. Because then you have baseball, where it's New York, the big markets, San Francisco, Los Angeles, they have everybody. But anyways, back to this Saquon thing. To me, it just shows team loyalty. It shows a commitment to his teammates, and I think that the Giants are an organization that traditionally honors that. They're family-owned team. They have been for a very long time, and the fans they love their guys. You know.
I know this is an NFL show, but it's still football, college football. Did you see what's up with Harbaugh?
Yeah, I did see what's up with Harbaugh, and we could talk that too. I just think that, whenever you see the big name programs like this, I think that the penalty, it's either you're penalized or you're not penalized. And I think it's either a year or nothing, because a 4-game suspension with the UNLV game is ridiculous. Bowling Green, UNLV, one cop,
ECU
yeah,
and
ECU,
Rutgers.
Rutgers was decent last year, and they're going to be good again. But it's one conference game, and all the rest are the Patsy schedules, all home games, and it's either in or out. You got to either send a message or don't send a message, because what you're sending a message there is that's okay.
Yeah, low key.
Yeah, this is like when Nick Saban suspends guys for like the Eastern Kentucky game. It's
The
no
thing
different.
is, will these games be suspended pay or no pay? I mean, because if it's suspended pay,
No, it's no pay. He won't get paid for these games. It
okay.
really doesn't matter. It
But
doesn't
yeah,
matter. He
still,
makes how
it's
much
crazy.
do you think he makes for endorsements? I think just for wearing like that brand of khakis that he wears, he makes like an extra 10 million just for that.
You might be right. I wouldn't doubt it,
No,
man.
I'm
So
sure. I'm sure he does.
I'm
You
sure he
know.
does too. So you're right. You're right. Yeah, this is he's not gonna miss not having to be on the field for them 4 games against them teams. Those are automatic dubs. Those are games, and they're telling them pick a number. Will we cover the spread this week?
So he did on the last kind of khakis that he wore, not the current brand. He got 250,000 on that one for doing the commercial that he did. So, but he gets so here it is. He gets they won't let me read it because I'm not a subscriber, but it talks about how he has a cut of the Adidas money that Michigan gets. There's a lot going on there.
Yep.
Jim Harbaugh makes $12 million a year. I don't know if that means that he's paid $1 million per game in the regular season. If it's $1 million a month over the course of the season, so he still gets 11 million. He doesn't get 1 million. I mean, plus endorsements, plus speaking fees, plus it just
He's not hurting, man.
no, it's
And
nothing. It's
it's a
it's an
slap on the
unpaid
wrist.
vacation. It's an
Yeah,
unpaid vacation. That's all it is.
exactly. And that's where I was getting at. That's where I was getting. It's an unpaid vacation in the early part of the season against teams nobody cares about. Whoop-dee. Can do.
I don't understand it.
I'm with you. We agree on this one. If they were gonna do it, man, they should have made a statement with a year. Ain't nobody hurting about them 4 games.
It's ridiculous.
Suspend them against Ohio State. Then we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
ESPN has Ohio State as the favorites. Yeah, I mean Ohio State is always going to be favored to win the Big Ten. Michigan, Ohio State are always favored. Michigan's beaten them though the last couple times, right? Well, no, I think Ohio State won last year. Michigan won. Michigan won.
Yeah, Michigan won last year.
Yep, last 2 years now.
Yep.
They've beaten them. It's in the Big Ten. It's almost like baseball. Recruiting doesn't have a cap, and neither does the transfer portal. And now with image licensing, it's
do you think this was another reason why we were hearing some rumblings about him moving to the NFL this offseason?
No, I think this is more about this is what he said that he said this is all just what he's been doing, all the way around. All these guys do it. Yeah. It's just what's okay and what's not okay. The line is so thin, and it's like this guy must be so far over the line for them to be able to say that, for them to even say anything about it.
Yep.
It's like now that they pay the players, the cap is off.
The
The only
book is
difference between the college and the NFL is there is no salary cap. It's
yep.
like you're going to see crazy salaries in college football. People they're not public information and they're not discussed. But that Florida quarterback turned down 13 million for 4 years at Florida. 13.1 for 4 years. He never played it down in college football.
And if I was coming up, man, like why not play 4 or 5 years in college, stack up your millions, be that guy on campus for a while, then go to the NFL where you're probably going to go to a bad team and get beat up for a year, then put on the end of the bench.
No, because the NFL is like, it,
But no, I'm serious.
oh no, it's
I would probably stay in college, get paid them extra 3 years, and then go.
in case you haven't noticed, in college hoops, there are guys that are staying around that would
That's what I'm
normally
saying.
be gone.
That's what
You
I'm
know,
saying, and I think we're gonna start to see that translate to football as well.
I think we will too, and I think we already are seeing it at some places. I think especially guys that are on the borderline, it might not be making the top image licensing money, but they're probably still making more money than they could be making in the NFL. I think at South Carolina, Spencer, the guy from
Yeah,
Oklahoma, right? It's
yep.
like I'm sure he's doing well at South Carolina as far as image licensing money and all that other stuff.
We've been
Way better
watching him
than he would do.
forever.
Spencer Rattler, better than he'd be doing in the NFL, and I think a lot of the guys would be.
Exactly. So
It will be college football. I think has yet to really, and college sports in general has really yet to figure out the transfer portal and the image licensing. Generally, this is an NFL show, but we could talk college football on it and college sports. I'm always open to it, especially this time of year. We don't have much to talk about. I know Mike Davis wants to do college sports as well. So we could either do a cross promotion show, we could have separate shows. We're still working through things, but we're definitely going to do NFL show every day. But we'll call it the NFL show. So we know the Ravens are the kings of preseason, and that is the biggest streak, of course, coming into this season, whether it be preseason or regular season. But Denver Broncos are 0-10 as favorites against AFC teams, the 3.5-point favorites opening day on September 4th against the Raiders. What do you think? Streak ends.
read it to me one more time. I'm sorry.
Denver Broncos 0-10 against the number as road favorites against the AFC West, as spread as favorites. So they're home versus the Raiders to open the season. The 3.5-point favorites. You think it ends, or you think that's it? I mean, the Raiders are going to be bad. We know that.
I think it has a chance to continue. I could see them.
I do too.
I can see them winning the game by a field goal.
Yeah, Denver's the NFL games are close, and I think that one is one that division game. I think that could be really close. Here's one that I really like. This one's a money liner, so it's minus 225. Eagles 9 wins in a row as road favorites. They open at New England opening day.
I've been watching that game, man. I think that one. I think they could lose that game. Tom Brady Day in New England. I don't know, man. Them vibes and up there are gonna be a little different. I think
Opening day is always a little tough,
it's a little tough.
because like teams. So the Cleveland Browns, right, for example, they like lost every game in between, but they won like 2 opening home openers, and that was it, like in 2 years. So it's like if you're gonna win, that's your most likely spot, regardless of who the opponent is. To me, it's like I still think the Patriots might play hard, but I think the Eagles are gonna be tough, even losing both their coordinators. We've got another streak here. The Arizona Cardinals have covered 7 games in a row against the NFC East. They're 6-point dogs against the Commanders on opening day.
First game starting for the rookie to open up the year at home. New ownership group, though. Like, good vibes actually flowing through Washington. Arizona's supposed to be trash. But I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be starting. He's going to be out for some time, I believe. I don't know. Washington might win that by 7 or a push.
going to be interesting. I think I think once again the Commanders haven't really been involved in a lot of blowout wins, so it's a lot of points, And it's 5.5 is the average margin. There's some interesting streaks. I always look at the streaks of the betting totals. Of course, I do my 7 free picks. So I'm like, I always think they're fun, and it's crazy how often how right they are. Where it's just like, you know what, this is like people always talk about this stuff in the comments of the shows, talking to people in bars, clubs, post office, whatever. Right? It's like, oh, these guys always lose to this. Fan bases, we always lose to these guys, whatever. But these are the real streaks, and I'll tell you, boy, they come in. It's crazy how often they come in. Kansas City Chiefs first quarter wins as favorites against the NFC. They opened that Thursday night game against the Lions. We all know Banner Night can be a little tricky because you have that adrenaline early. Will Mahomes, he gets jacked up, doesn't really be throwing it all over the place, or will they just take the opening kickoff and just drive it right down the field? I mean, that to kind of celebrate the Super Bowl win. I could see them doing it.
How many times have they done that?
The Chiefs?
Yeah, what was the streak?
Seven in a row.
Ooh. I kind of am leaning Lions in that first game. But could I see
this first quarter?
I know that's what I'm saying. But could I see Patrick Mahomes and them coming out and punching them in the mouth first quarter? I could.
Yeah. So this is the other one, the other side of it. The Lions have covered the spread 6 times in a row as dogs. They're getting a touchdown in that opening night game against Kansas City. We're probably going to be able to get 7 is a very hard number for it to move through, right? You got to go on most of the numbers. You see the VIG move just, a little bit, minus 115, maybe minus 120, and then they're on their merry way. At 7, it's like, got to go to 120, 125, 130, then they'll move the number. But I think we might be able to get the number to flip on this one. Even though the Lions are seen as an up-and-comer, I think that we'll still be able to get 7.5 if we really apply ourselves.
I hope so. I want that 7.5. I want that 7.5. That's probably where I'll be in that game to open up the year. I do. I want to see the training camps, of course. See all the news filter through and all that great stuff.
Oh, we got a long way to go. We got nothing to talk about. We got a football show. There's not even a preseason game until next Thursday, so it's like we don't even have a.
I can't wait for that, man. I can't wait for that.
A few years ago, they canceled the Hall of Fame game because of the paint on the field. No one was really that upset about it. It was kind of more.
I think this year, if that were to happen, we might riot. I think the football barometer this year is kind of high.
I think it's real. I think it actually is really high, and I think betting on football is bigger than it ever has been. And I think that the barometer is higher this year, and I think there'll be more betting on preseason this year than ever before. I actually usually have a really good record for preseason, so we'll have to see how it goes. Because this is what I look at for betting preseason. Maybe that's what we should have done the show, and we could just drop these streaks. We'll go to that. We'll finish up with this. So betting on preseason, and we'll continue to talk about this. But these are the things that I look for. Teams that give a crap, because some coaches, they do not give a crap. They do not. So the Patriots, like Bill Belichick, he doesn't give a crap. But he does give a crap because the way he gives a crap is that he's going to run his plays with his players and run these no matter what. He doesn't care where you are in the game, what the sequences are, all those different things. He just wants to try these different formations and different plays and see if they work. So he cares about that. But as far as winning the game in the end, he's not going to, all of a sudden bring, all the starters onto the field to win, to win a game in the preseason. But what I like to look for is like a quarterback positional battle. Yep. So these guys they're fighting it out in camp, but they're also going to fight it out on the field. It doesn't need to be the number 1 quarterback that they're fighting for. It could be 2, 3. It could be 3, 4 for a roster spot altogether. But when you see competition at that spot, oh man, and it's not just the guy that everybody knows is going to get cut and they just want to give him some game action to say that you played because you sat training camp with us. Usually you see the guys compete really, really hard. And if you could find, usually the coach will announce and they'll say, this guy's going to start. He's going to play X amount of minutes. And then this guy's going to play. Always lean that the guy who goes first is going to play a little bit longer than what they said. And sometimes they don't. If they come down, they score a touchdown, everything's, whatever. Maybe sometimes they don't come out for that second one, but usually they do. Generally, they end up leaving them in a little longer than what they say because they don't have the ball as much as they thought they did, or there's always these different things. They end up leaving them in there. So it's the guy that's first is the guy that you got to really lean on.
Yeah, man. So preseason for me last year was I put up some good units. I think it was like 1,300. I think.
Yeah. So I mean that's the way that it is. If you know, if you know a team has offensive lineman battles going on, and the other team is going to be three deep on their defense, those are the ones. I mean,
you just kind of got to find them nuances. It's not that difficult. So like last year,
we'll be talking about it.
I think I was on like Las Vegas last year. And the reason I loved Las Vegas in the preseason was Jarrett Stidham. He had been with McDaniels before in New England for a long time. And now he was over there in Las Vegas. Well, what does that mean? That means he knows the system better than anybody else who's playing is going to know it. So we saw them be kind of efficient there. Young coach wanted to come in and try to get some flow with his teams. Those are usually teams to kind of watch. Trying to get some early success, get some good morale through the building, some things to watch. Teams that are good at running the football in preseason are cool teams to watch because you can kind of dominate the clock. So there's just a few things off the top of my head. The Ravens are good in the preseason. That's another thing to watch. So, just a few nuances. And as we get closer and closer, I'm going to have way more for y'all, I promise. And, I can't wait.
I don't think there's many new stadiums this season, but a lot of teams looking at new stadium builds, as always. So it's always a factor as well. But anyways, we just want to talk football here and, just keep the flow going. Like I said, tomorrow, more than likely, we'll talk if there's any late-breaking football news, like Tom Brady comes out of retirement or something. We'll, of course, cover it. But we're going to start talking about Spence Crawford. I'm excited about the fight. I haven't been to a big fight since the pandemic. Normally, you guys know, if you've been following me for any amount of time, I'm always at the big fights. I'm not sitting ringside with Ben Affleck or anything, but I'm there. It's like, I think this fight I made a tactical error. I knew I was making a mistake, but at the same time, I also wanted to be 100% sure. I bought my tickets too early, and I could have gotten way better tickets for the same price. But it doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm in. That's all I care about.
We in there like swimwear.
That's all I care about, man. It's like I saw the two boxing guys, and he's like, man, I don't care, man. I'm watching on the Jumbotron, whatever. I'm in that building, man. It's like they're selling seats like that you cannot see. They're selling seats that you cannot see at all. Like the new stadiums, like T-Mobile and places like that, you can see from every single seat in the house. The thing is, they build it up, so you are pretty high up there. But so what?
Yep. The way that boxing fight this morning had me turned up, man, I know being in the building is gonna be electrifying.
Oh yeah, there's no more electric thing than being in the building at a big fight. That when they do the announcements of the fighters that come into the ring, man, it is nuts. Anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow morning for our Major League Baseball show. Thursday, Jay pointed out, just 4 games.
Yep.
Wild. I wonder why they're doing that. No idea. Anyways, thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.